Today I'm in Palo Alto, California, and I'm on the campus of Stanford University. Stanford University was established in 1885 and it took its first students on in 1891. Stanford University is a leading research university in the entire planet. It's the reason why Silicon Valley is here and why I'm here today. As of April 2021, 84 Nobel laureates, 29 Turing Award laureates, and 8 Fields medalists have been affiliated with Stanford as students, alumni, faculty, or staff. In addition, Stanford is particularly noted for its entrepreneurship and is one of the most successful universities in attracting funding for startups. Stanford alumni have funded numerous companies which combined produce more than $2.7 trillion in annual revenue and have created 5.4 million jobs as of 2011, roughly equivalent to the 7th largest economy in the world. As of 2020, Stanford is the alma mater of one President of the United States, Herbert Hoover, 74 living billionaires, and 17 astronauts. It is also one of the leading producers of Fulbright Scholars, Marshall Scholars, Rhodes Scholars, and members of the United States Congress. Silicon Valley got its roots just a few short miles from here. In 1935, two gentlemen by the name of Hewlett and Packard graduated from Stanford University. In 1939, they started Hewlett-Packard, which started the renaissance of this area, which is now known as Silicon Valley.
So Silicon Valley is a really interesting place. People feel like they understand Silicon Valley, and yet they don't. So first of all, where is it? Well, it's in California. And if you know where San Francisco is, in that water body that comes down that we call the Bay Area, Silicon Valley is on the bottom part of that. See, the Santa Cruz Mountains, which are to the west, and the Diablo Range are to the right, they kind of make a V shape underneath the San Francisco Bay. And so Silicon Valley started out geographically as being known as the area that is between the Santa Cruz Mountains that are to the west and the Diablo Range to the right. They kind of come together almost like a point, not quite, and the bay comes down and it makes up the top. So geographically speaking, that is Silicon Valley. But that's not what we're talking about here at all, is it? What we're talking about is the mindset of Silicon Valley. What we're talking about is the heart of Silicon Valley. What is Silicon Valley? How does the economy of the world get affected by this place known as Silicon Valley? Well, it kind of started as companies began, this is in the 50s and 60s and even into the 70s, moving to what would be known as the outskirts or the suburbs of San Francisco. But wait, that's not the valley at all. That's on the other side of the Santa Cruz Mountains. In fact, we could argue all day long of how Silicon Valley got started, but it probably had something to do with companies like you're familiar with, Hewlett-Packard. You might have a Hewlett-Packard printer by your computer at home, for example, or at your desk at work. Well, that wasn't Silicon Valley geographically, but it kind of is Silicon Valley. See, Silicon Valley is not necessarily a geographical place. If you feel like you have to define it geographically, define it as the way I did. But yet, most people would kind of think of the region of Silicon Valley to be 10, 15 miles beyond that definitive valley that makes up Silicon Valley. So we would start including as we go across the mountains and up over the side. And that's probably important to do. Because as we start thinking about Silicon Valley as an idea, as a place where the world changes, well then it isn't so much just the heart of the geographical definition, but certainly 20, 30 miles beyond in each way. So we're back to the same question, aren't we? What is Silicon Valley? Where is Silicon Valley? We've kind of defined that, Northern California, below the San Francisco Bay. But what makes it special? Oh, we could probably spend hours talking about that, couldn't we? Silicon Valley is a mindset. It's a heart set. There's something about this region that attracts the entrepreneur, the person that wants to change the world, the disruptor, the individual or the group of people that look at a problem that you didn't even know you had yet, and they come up with a solution to it that you didn't even know you needed, until you find out about it that you're not even sure what it is, but once you do, you're hooked. Now, obviously, a lot of those kind of companies were part of the digital revolution. That may have been a company like Intel, who is certainly famous for making computer chips that are in all kinds of stuff, but they got their name from that little jingle that we would see on TV as we saw Intel inside in the little circle. Well, they're right here in the heart of Silicon Valley. And we could go on and on. All of the big company names today that are on your computer that have something to do with an app that help computers run, they're here in Silicon Valley. All of the social media is here in Silicon Valley. But it's kind of expanded beyond that. We would certainly think about a company like Tesla as a technological company, right? But are they? I mean, what genre do they really fit in? What industry? Well, the greatest minds have thought about this. The minds of finance have classified economically where a company like Tesla is. Their peers are not Intel. Their peers are not Google or Facebook. Their peers are not Hewlett, Packard, or AMD, or Qualcomm, or Cisco. Their peers are Ford and Chevrolet, GMC, right? Toyota. So they're an automobile manufacturer. We classify them differently because they brought the heart of the computer together with the heart of the mechanical car, and they started helping to change the world. And of course, now with the automated driving that they've become known for, they're a different kind of company, aren't they? But yet, they are a car company. So Silicon Valley certainly attracts those that are tech-focused, that are interested in the technological differences that change the world, but they're not just geeks, although I, as an electrical engineer, am a self-proclaimed geek. You can't spell geek without EE. Now, back in college, we would say you can't spell beer either, but that's a story for another day. What makes Silicon Valley different than maybe any other place in the world? We talk about economical hubs in the world, and that could be Hong Kong. It could be Berlin. Certainly it would be London. Most definitely here in America, it would be Wall Street. Chicago even has some financial markets in it. But yet Silicon Valley is different than all that. Silicon Valley has more multi-million-dollar companies than anywhere else in the world. It has more multi-billion-dollar companies, and we're talking companies that bring in hundred or hundreds of billions in a single year than anywhere else in the world. In about a 30, maybe 50, if we say 50 square mile radius, but I think we could probably do it even in 30. We have many of the Fortune 100 companies, maybe even of the Fortune 50 companies. So again, what is it about here? Is there something in the water? Is there something in the blood of the people? Well, Silicon Valley is very much an American city, or cities, plural. Again, it depends on how we define it. It's somewhere between 13 to 21 cities. The local would say 13 because they look at those geographical boundaries, but those that are from outside the local area might say it's 19 or 20 or 21, somewhere in that ballpark. So is there something about the government? Well, actually, this isn't the most friendly place for economics. Taxes are a little bit high. We have some challenges with water. You may have heard of the forest fires that we get out here in California. We do have some of the most beautiful weather in the world and some of the most beautiful people in the world. And it's a great place to visit, a great place for tourism. But that's not what made Silicon Valley what it is. You know, where did it actually start? Where was the chicken and the egg? What's the horse before the cart? Well, it was one business and then another and then another, and pretty soon we had a mecca of talent. And what is that talent? Well, where do you think you would find the most mathematicians in the entire world? Some university, right? What's the biggest university? No. More mathematicians with PhDs in math are here in Silicon Valley than anywhere else in the world by far. I think we're triple or quadruple the next highest geographical space. The same would be true of mechanical engineers, robotronics and robotics, mechanical people, those that are involved in coding. And because of that kind of stuff, it's now attracting, as you might expect, the financiers. We have more angel investors. That means billionaires with money to spend that want to make more billions by investing in the next big thing. We have more angel investors than anywhere else. We also have more, as I said, coders, electrical engineers, and all of the associated business that comes with big business. So that would be marketers and human resources and customer service and government relations, lobbyists, of course. So how did it get started is a very different question of where we are today. How it got started, maybe it was a little bit of luck. Maybe it was just that company that decided to put down their roots, and then the next company said, hey, that's a good place to start. But where we are now is we actually have a mecca of talent. High-tech talent is bigger here in Silicon Valley than literally anywhere else in the world. Every single college and every single star that is putting out technical talent is sending them here, and once they're graduates, to be part of the Silicon Valley experience. That's what makes the economy different. We have this bustling mecca of very, very well educated and very, very well paid, as well as a whole lot of blue collar workers and support people that do their dry cleaning and mow their grass and provide their food, and the economy all works together. And that is what makes up the economy of Silicon Valley.
Gasoline prices throughout California are reaching record highs. No one is addressing the paradigm swing as it relates to oil pricing and the subsequent swing from fossil fuel to electricity and what it imposes on that industry. What are the fuel giants doing to remain viable to their stockholders? California pays more for gasoline than any other state because of a higher octane blend, higher taxes, and environmental regulations. At the start of this year, California drivers were paying on average 63 cents a gallon in state and local taxes. It costs more to refine gasoline from 2012 to the first quarter of 2021. Regulatory prices have increased by nearly a factor of 12, from $17 on average to $198 in 2021. California prices will increase to over $5 a gallon. California pays on average $1.15 more per gallon than the national average. Now let me pose a question. What about freight and commercial transportation? How will this affect inflation? The second quarter stock financials are out. So let's look at Alphabet, our star performer on the California Performance Stock Index. Even with potential antitrust litigation, the stock has increased by 54% since the first of the year. You can look at its rankings on the illustrated recap on the California Performance Stock Index. The stock increased after reporting first quarter results for 2021 with earnings and revenue that beat the analyst expectations. Analysts expect rapid growth in both earnings per share and revenue, with revenue growing at its fastest pace in the last 4 years. QuantumScape released their second quarter results. For the most part, it is irrelevant since they are a research company. For the most part, they have stated their progress in the development of their technology. One other point that is conveyed, and that's of their relationship with Volkswagen. They are indicating samples to be used in test cars by 2022 and commercialization of their products in 2024 and 2025. California High Speed Rail released their August 2021 update, highlighting the nation's first high-speed rail project. The project currently has 110 miles of rail under construction with 1,100 workers dispatched daily. I strongly encourage you to visit their site at www.buildhsa.com. Speaking of high-speed rail, there is a new alliance called Link 21. It is bringing the various rail authorities that are serving Northern California into one cohesive group with the purpose of standardizing rail in that region. Also stated is their commitment to a second train link to San Francisco. The group consists of BART, ACE Train, Capital Corridor Express, and Amtrak. This month's END's USA Performance Index shows a 2% decline, despite Alphabet's performance of a 54% increase. Other outstanding performers are eBay, Gap, Skechers, Wells Fargo, and Williams-Sonoma. The END's USA California Wine and Industry Performance Index is at 19%. Vintage wine estates, after an initial surge after they went public, settled at their initial offering price. California unemployment figures for June continue to lag behind the nation. The figures increased 1/2 point from the previous month's 7.5% result. Thank you for watching and have a prosperous month.